Listen now to the book, One Night with the Hybrid King, written by the author Anya Curves. If you want to buy the ebook, link in the description. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share. Chapter 111, Seraphina. I watch as Caelum leaves the coastal city, his figure disappearing down the road amid the chaos sparked by Drave's coup. I wonder what's going through his mind, whether the humiliation of losing his throne to the bastard brother is greater than the fear of facing a war he clearly doesn't know how to win. The world seems to revolve around this chaos, and on every corner, in every whispered or shouted voice, there's only one topic: the coup. I watch the news with a malicious smile on my lips, a perverse admiration for Drave's theatrical skill. He knows how to put on a show. Every detail of the invasion was meticulously calculated, from the devastating explosions to the powerful image of a soldier kneeling before him, her expression marked by terror and crushed pride. The moment Drave challenged Caelum with a soldier on her knees, my heart raced, but not from fear. An intoxicating euphoria took over me. That woman, finally, she's paying for her arrogance. A selfish, cruel, cold bitch, Isolde deserves every drop of humiliation Drave pours on her. And if I were there, I would make sure to multiply her pain. Imagining her squirming under my control gives me a sick satisfaction. But now Caelum is far away. Far from Aria. Far from the twins. Far from his throne. The perfect moment to act. The chaos that has engulfed the capital has left Aria vulnerable, unprotected, with no way out. I arrive at the neighborhood where she's hiding, a pathetically quiet place for someone surrounded by so many dangers. The streets are silent, with only the occasional sound of a child's bicycle passing or the wind rustling the trees. I look around with disdain. How ironic that she's living in such a mundane place while the world outside is burning. Then, something catches my attention. There they are, Aria and Alexander, arguing on the sidewalk in front of the house. My eyes lock on them, taking in every detail of the confrontation. The tension is palpable, even from a distance. The raised tone of their voices reaches my ears, but the words are difficult to distinguish. However, I don't need to hear them to understand. I see the rage on Alexander's face, his wide, impatient gestures. Aria, on the other hand, seems to be on the defensive, her eyes wide, her hands moving as though trying to justify something, explain herself. I allow myself to savor the scene for a moment, tilting my head slightly as a cold smile forms on my lips. Has paradise already turned to hell for the two of them? I murmur to myself, admiring the suffering and indignation passing across Aria's face. The sight of her, so fragile, so exposed, fills me with pleasure. But I won't prolong my wait. Alexander is nothing more than a fleeting obstacle, an irritating stone in my path. As I approach, Aria senses my presence. Her eyes widen, and I see fear reflected in them like a bright mirror. That moment, that look. Ah, how sweet it is. Alexander spins his body in a quick movement, positioning himself in front of her like a shield. He's tall, broad, strong, but his attempt at protection is trivial, almost pathetic. My smile widens, filled with contempt and amusement. "Darling, this won't do you any good," I declare, letting my voice drip with as much disdain as I can muster. I raise my hand, and the magic flows from me like a natural extension, an invisible, crushing force that sends Alexander and Aria crashing into the house. The impact echoes through the walls, a hollow, satisfying sound that brings an arrogant smile to my face. The sharp scream of the children cuts through the air like a knife, shrinking the space around me. The small, cluttered room is filled with the sound of their hurried footsteps as they retreat. I move toward them, my presence imposing itself like a growing shadow. But Alexander, stubborn as ever, steps into my path before I can reach the little ones. He charges at me with all his body's strength, hitting me with a shove that unbalances me for a few seconds. I stumble slightly backward, surprised by his audacity. Irritation pulses through me, heating my blood like an electric current. "I don't have time for this, Alexander." I shout, my voice resonating with fury, making the atmosphere around us vibrate. I advance toward him, quickly reciting a spell. The magic forms into a fiery sphere in my hands before firing straight at his chest. The impact sends him crashing to the ground with a thud that makes the furniture in the room shake. He falls on his back, air forced out of his lungs in a gasping, muffled groan. As Alexander struggles to recover, I feel a sharp tug on my hair, a biting pain that surprises me. Aria, as pathetic as she is desperate, emerges from behind me and grabs my hair like a wild animal. The The pain irritates me more than it should, but it also riles me up. I twist my body in a quick, fierce movement, freeing myself from her grasp. Without hesitation, I slap her across the face. "How dare you attack me, you filthy wretch!" I exclaim, my voice overflowing with hate. I feel the heat of rage rising to my face, and my vision narrows into pure contempt. "I can't wait to end your life once and for all." Quickly, I begin to chant another spell, pointing my hands at Aria. The magical energy glows in shades of green and gold, ready to obliterate her. I release the spell with a precise motion, but she dodges it with surprising agility, almost infuriating. Aria advances again, forcing me to retreat as we exchange blows. I feel her nails scratch my arm, and my patience, already non-existent, is finally drained. I attempt to cast another spell, but the proximity of our bodies makes it impossible to concentrate the magic properly. She's a whirlwind of desperation, fighting with more ferocity than I expected. Before I can bring her down, Alexander reappears, his relentless strength like a wave that hits me by surprise. He grabs me by the neck with one hand, his fingers tightening around my throat, choking me. He lifts me, pinning me against the wall. My vision starts to darken at the edges, but I don't give in. I can't. My mind works quickly. With a final effort, I summon a magical dagger that materializes in my hand, like an extension of my will. I grip the ornate hilt tightly and thrust the blade into the left side of Alexander's chest, exactly where his heart should be. I twist the dagger with force, feeling the resistance of fabric and bone yield under my determination. He lets out a scream of pain before releasing me, staggering backward. "Your presence now is simply pathetic," I declare with disdain, spitting the words like venom. I focus for a moment, reciting a longer, more powerful incantation. The dagger, still embedded in Alexander, begins to spin on its own, driving deeper, drawing another groan of agony from him. My eyes shift to Aria. She's lying on the floor, trying to get up. Her face is marked by effort and pain, but there's still a spark of determination in her eyes. I decide to end this once and for all. My hand rises, glowing with magical energy as I begin to prepare the final spell. I launch the magic directly at Aria, but before it reaches its target, a protective shield erupts around her, bright and powerful. My magic ricochets violently off the shield, diverting and striking young Thorn, who lets out a scream of pain before collapsing to the floor unconscious. My eyes widen momentarily, but then a cruel smile curves my lips. I turn my head toward Aloan, the little girl crouching in a corner, trembling with fear. It's her. She's the one who created the shield. I can see an aura of magic surrounding her. The girl doesn't even know how to control her own magic yet. "We already know who got the best part of their father," I declare, sarcasm dripping from every word. My attention is now fully on her. "Come, it's time for you to give me what I want."
Chapter 112, Caelum. Drave accuses me of being a terrible king, an incapable leader, full of fear and hesitant to take action. His words, laced with venom, aim to wound me, but instead fuel the determination burning in my chest. Those accusations dissipate like smoke in the face of what I now see. The army sent by my allies, steadfast and numerous, advancing by my side. Each step we take resonates on the ground like a promise, a reminder that my pursuit of peace, built upon solid alliances with neighboring kingdoms, has not been in vain. The palace looms ahead, imposing and tainted by the chaos Drave has sown. We march toward it, the rhythmic sound of boots and the pause of the lycans reverberating like thunder. Across from us, I see my half-brother's soldiers forming ranks. Rebels. The sight of them enrages me. They are a distorted reflection of what Veridiana should be. Disorganized, brutal, driven by a false cause. Among the lycans, I also notice several enchantresses. A people who should stand with me, a people who were attacked by these rebels, and yet inexplicably now align themselves with Drave's cause. My gaze narrows as I try to unravel the lies he must have spun to convince them. What empty promises were made? What deceit was whispered into their ears? Suddenly, the tense silence is broken by the appearance of a lycan. He is massive, his dark skin gleaming under the pale sun, muscles chiseled as if molded by war. He steps out onto the castle gates with an imposing posture, his presence a silent threat. My soldiers immediately ready themselves, hands gripping their weapons, eyes scanning for any sign of danger. I am Fenrir, right hand of the rightful king of Veridiana, Drave Frost, the lycan announces with pride. His words are like embers tossed onto the flames of my fury. Rightful king? My bloodthirsty, bastard brother, a usurper, is not worthy even to tread the ground of this kingdom, let alone call himself king. My body stiffens, but I maintain my composure. I cannot let the storm raging inside me show. Inform the usurper, my brother, that I wish to speak with him. I say, my voice firm and laden with authority. No bloodshed. We can negotiate a peaceful redemption for the good of the kingdom. The lycan growls at me like a wild animal, but I am not intimidated. My men, ever vigilant, respond instinctively, raising their weapons toward him. Before the tension erupts into action, I raise a hand, a gesture that silences them and makes them lower their arms. Deliver that message to him. Pup, I order, my tone dripping with disdain and sharp humor. Fenrir casts a final threatening glare at me before turning and retreating into the palace. I watch as he vanishes into the shadows of the gates, leaving the formation of soldiers and rebels behind. My eyes scan the scene before me, analyzing every detail. The defensive line around the castle is strong, but not impenetrable. A magical shield surrounds it, its pulsing energy almost visible to me. It won't be difficult to dismantle if it comes to that. Time drags on as I wait for a response from beyond the gates. When it finally arrives, the gates creak open, allowing me to enter the castle alone. My enchantress side and my lycan side wrestle for dominance, both on high alert as I move toward the throne room. I take note of how many guards are stationed along the way, which areas have been destroyed, and where the hostages might be held. As I step into the throne room, I'm met with the sight of my half-brother lounging on my throne. His posture is relaxed, as if the imposing stone seat were nothing more than a comfortable couch. I approach the steps leading up to the throne cautiously, my eyes carefully scanning the surroundings. A quick count reveals at least 10 rebels strategically positioned throughout the hall. I didn't think it would take you this long to pay me a visit, little brother, Drave declares with mocking ease. I'm impressed by your restraint. For such an idiot king, you actually managed to gather a rather impressive army with your allies. Bravo! Drave claps his hands, his mockery biting. I hold myself back from rushing toward him and knocking the smugness off his face with a punch. Sensing my self-control, Drave leans forward, resting his arms on his knees. How does it feel? Being so helpless and defeated, he taunts. I wouldn't know, Drave. I've never felt that way, and I don't intend to start now. I reply coldly. Drave laughs at my response, his amusement chipping away at my patience with this whole charade. You'd better surrender, Drave. Your little performance was impressive, but it won't last. I have 3 times the military force you do, not to mention the kingdom's armory. You know very well that the siege you've set around the castle won't hold for long, I inform him. Drave nods and once again slouches comfortably on the throne. Oh yes, I know. I've got about, he glances at his wristwatch, 12 hours before the protective shield falls. But that doesn't bother me, because you won't take the kingdom back. In fact, little brother, you're going to hand it over to me, Drave says, his tone light and amused. I can't help but arch a brow, an instinctive gesture betraying my utter disbelief at his words. I can't begin to comprehend his twisted reasoning, but the smile curling on his lips tells me he's savoring my confusion. He rises from the throne, his movements slow and deliberate. Standing above me, his elevated position forces me to tilt my head upward to meet his gaze. A gesture he likely interprets as submission, but only fuels the fire in my chest. Before I can speak, the creak of a door opening to the side of the hall draws my attention. My body tenses, instinct taking over as I turn my gaze toward the source of the sound. From the dim corridor, my family is dragged out. Aria, the twins, my mother, even Alexander. All of them chained, hauled in like prisoners. I notice Thorn's weak pulse, along with Aria's and Alexander's. The 3 of them are unconscious, and the faint scent of blood wafts from my cousin. Without thinking, I take a step forward, my body driven by pure protective instinct. I want to run to them, shield them. But before I can get closer, several rebels position themselves between me and my family, raising their weapons and flashing sadistic smiles. "Not so fast, little brother." Drave's voice slices through the air, dripping with sarcasm and twisted satisfaction. "We need to talk." He descends the throne's steps slowly, each measured step striking at my patience. "First, congratulations on your marriage. Your mate is divine. Can you believe she planned all of this?" His words are accompanied by a theatrical gesture, and then she appears. Seraphina. She emerges from the same corridor as my family, striding with an air of triumph that makes my blood boil. She clings to Drave's arm, her elegant posture more suited to a parade than a battlefield. Her malicious smile is like venom, dripping with delight at the chaos. "Impressive, isn't it?" Drave continues, his voice oozing with fake admiration. "Your complete lack of preparation for situations like this. Really, Caelum, living among nobles has made you stupid. All it took were a few little explosions in the capital and some playthings here to have you running back like a well-trained pup. You left Aria and the twins defenseless. So predictable. And now here we are. The choice is yours. The crown or your family." Every word is a sharp blade, slicing through the thin thread of control I have left. "You son of a bitch." The words escape as a guttural growl, deep and filled with hatred. I lunge at him, driven by the pure fury blazing in every cell of my body. I feel my body shift. It's not just a transformation, it's a fusion. For the first time, my enchantress side and my lycan side merge completely, creating a surge of energy so overwhelming it feels almost unbearable. My form changes, but I don't become a full wolf. My body grows, muscles expand, and my skin is covered in a shimmering coat of fur. My eyes burn with the power of my magic, and the strength coursing through me is nearly uncontrollable. The rebels surrounding me hesitate, though a few dare to attack. They're insignificant. I throw each one aside as if they were mere leaves caught in a storm. My focus is entirely on Drave. He feels it too. For a brief moment, I see something in his eyes. It's not fear, it's surprise. Perhaps he's never seen this side of me, this power that now threatens to consume him. He doesn't falter. In the blink of an eye, Drave shifts. His wolf form is as monstrous as his personality. A white wolf with blood-red eyes. A sight that should inspire awe, but only fills me with disgust. We face off without words. The only sounds filling the throne room are guttural growls and the clash of bodies. The battle is savage. Every blow, every charge, every attack reverberates through the hall. Blood splatters, teeth sink into flesh, claws tear through skin, but I don't stop. My goal is clear. Finally, I overpower him. My weight pins him to the cold stone floor. Drave shifts back into his human form, his face battered and bruised, blood streaking his pale skin. My glowing eyes, still burning with the fury of my transformation, lock onto his exposed throat. My claws lift, poised to end this once and for all. "If you kill me," he rasps, his voice rough but still dripping with arrogance, "you'll kill your little heir too." My claws freeze midair. His words are poison, paralyzing me. "What the hell did you do?" My words come out as a roar, deep and almost inhuman. "Life-binding spell, little brother," he says, pride lacing his tone even as he lies crushed beneath me. "I always have a plan B, always." His laughter is a hateful sound, and my rage mixes with despair, a storm brewing inside me. What he's done isn't just cruel. It's proof he's willing to destroy everything, even himself, just to defeat me.
Chapter 113, Seraphina. As soon as Drave announces my involvement with him, I feel the immediate impact of his words. Caelum's rage intensifies, almost tangible, radiating from him in waves of heat. His eyes, once focused and controlled, now blaze with a primal, almost feral fury. And me? I feel an almost perverse pride as I witness it. Finally, Caelum is subdued, disarmed, exposed as he should be. The king who believed himself untouchable, is now at the mercy of our actions and words. Yet, this moment of triumph is tainted by a revelation that catches me off guard. A twist I never anticipated, one that shifts the entire game. I see it in Drave, in the smile he tries to mask but which carries something deeper. He deceived me. And worse, I realize I underestimated who he truly is. Drave Frost is not just a man driven by brute strength or bloodlust, as I had always assumed. He's far more dangerous than that. He is a strategist, a manipulator capable of shaping the world around him with words as sharp as blades. His speeches, his silver tongue, they were enough to blind me to his true intentions. I was so consumed with the idea of watching him humiliate Caelum that I failed to see how he was using me as a pawn in his own game. And now, everything unfolds cruelly before me. The twins. They have always been Caelum's greatest weakness, and I insisted they be kept alive for my own interests. Drave had agreed so easily, without resistance, that it never occurred to me he might have his own plans for the children. But now it all makes sense. The way his gaze always drifted when the twins were mentioned, it wasn't indifference. It was calculation. He had plans. He always did. Meanwhile, the scene before me takes an unexpected turn. Caelum's transformation, something that once seemed impossible, unfolds right before my eyes. He finally gives in, embracing the duality within himself, the enchantress and the lycan. It's overwhelming to behold, a spectacle of raw power and pure magic converging into something beyond what any of us could have imagined. His muscles expand, his presence grows, as though the room itself is too small to contain him. His eyes, once ablaze with uncontrollable rage, now burn like twin stars, radiating a power that leaves me stunned. He is not just strong. He is a hybrid in the truest sense of the word, someone who commands not only physical might, but also the magical energy coursing through his veins. Hybrids are rare, and now I understand why. It's not because they are inferior, as Drave so often sneers with disdain. It's not because they carried bad blood or are the result of condemned unions. It's because they are too powerful. Powerful enough to disrupt any political structure, any kingdom. Caelum, even without realizing it, is one of those rare and dangerous beings. He carries within him the potential to master both his physical form and his magic. He is the perfect balance between two worlds, something Drave, with all his ambition, cannot fully comprehend. And now, seeing it up close for the first time, I feel something I never expected to feel towards Caelum, a trace of fear. Not because he is my enemy, but because I realize he is beyond anyone's control. Beyond Drave's control. Beyond mine. He is more than just a king or a warrior. He is a force of nature, and Drave, with all his manipulation, may have unleashed something he can no longer stop. Before Caelum can turn his attention back to me and my involvement with Drave, I flee the throne room as quickly as I can. Their fight was brutal, ferocious, like a clash of titans. I want no part of it. It's far too dangerous. Before Caelum can so much as glance my way, I seize the opportunity and run, putting as much distance as possible between myself and the chaos in the throne room. My mind races, calculating each move as my feet nearly glide across the cold, worn stone floors of the castle. Caelum's roars and the sounds of his savage battle with Drave echo through the halls. A cacophony of flesh colliding with flesh, feral growls, and bursts of magic that seem to shake the entire structure. Their fight is titanic, feral, a meeting of forces of nature, and I know I have no place there. It's a level of destruction and power that could consume me in an instant. My breathing is heavy but controlled, the sound of my own footsteps muffled by the shouts and howls spreading through the fortress. I can feel the castle's protective barrier weakening, like a web of magic unraveling strand by strand. Caelum's army, with its overwhelming strength and flawless strategy, is tearing down each line of defense with brutal efficiency. Soon, Drave's rebels will be cornered, captured, or dead. I am not a warrior, never have been. My strength has always been in words and spells, in games of manipulation and secrets whispered in the dark. I have no intention of being drawn further into this chaos, this cycle of violence that has become Veridiana's legacy. It's too dangerous, and frankly, it's not worth it. I reach the corridor leading to the castle's basement, a hidden passage I know better than anyone else. With each step, I feel the faint hum of magic in the stones around me, echoes of the spells I've cast here countless times. This basement isn't just some forgotten room. It's my sanctuary, my altar of magic. When I finally step into the cavernous space, a wave of familiarity washes over me. My hands move almost instinctively, tracing symbols in the air, activating the spells I need to carve my way out of this nightmare. It's time to go home, I murmur to myself, my voice softly echoing in the room. No one is here to hear it, but the sound seems to calm my nerves. The portal begins to take shape before me, a pulsating circle of energy glowing with an intense, vibrant light. The edges ripple like water caught in the wind, but the center is solid, showing a clear view of what lies on the other side. My old room in the castle of Syltirion, the home I left behind so long ago.
Chapter 114, Caelum. My desire to end Drave's life pulses through me like poison, burning every fiber of my body with an almost unbearable intensity. Hatred courses through my veins, fueled by the sight of my half-brother sprawled before me, that maniacal grin still plastered on his bloodied face. He is the embodiment of everything I despise, everything that threatens my family and my kingdom. "What's it going to be, little brother?" he taunts, spitting words laced with venom and blood. His face is swollen, covered in bruises, yet the arrogance in his crimson eyes gleams brighter than ever. Death or life? The sacrifice of a bastard or the selfishness of a father? His words hit me like a punch, shattering my composure. A roar tears from my throat before I even realize it, echoing through the throne room like thunder. "Shut your damn mouth," I command, my voice reverberating as if forged from raw steel. My fists move before my mind can stop them, and the impact of my punch is so fierce I feel the bones in his face crack beneath my strength. Drave collapses like dead weight, unconscious but still alive. My entire body trembles with a volatile mix of rage and adrenaline, but I force myself to focus. I can't afford to lose control now, not when so much is at stake. I extend my hand, casting a binding spell that wraps Drave in magical chains, pinning him to one of the throne room's pillars. The chains glow with a silvery hue, pulsing with runes that flicker like living flames, making escape impossible. The sound of the gates being breached pulls me back to the present. My army is finally storming the castle, the thunder of boots and clash of weapons blending with the screams of the rebels. The battle around me is utter chaos, but I can't spare a moment for it. My priority is clear: my family. When I finally reach the twins, Thorn is awake, but his pale skin and the weakness in his eyes tell me he's on the verge of collapse. Before I can speak, it's Aloan who addresses me. Her voice trembles with the weight of fear and desperation. "Mama and Alex need help, Cael," she pleads, tears streaming down her rosy cheeks. Her voice is small, but carries an urgency that tears at my heart. "They need you." Her words cut through me like a blade. Aloan, only 5 years old, has already been forced to face horrors no child should ever know. Her fragility is a reflection of what I fight to protect, and it consumes me. "Mother, take Thorn and Aloan and come with me," I order, urgency sharpening my tone. I lift Aria into my arms and instruct a soldier to carry Alexander and follow me to the hospital. I can't afford to waste another second. Amid the chaos unfolding from the battle waged by my wolf pack, I manage to escape the castle safely with everyone around me. Aloan and Thorn are terrified. I can sense it in their scent, in the rapid beats of their small hearts. I hold Aria tightly against my chest, shielding her from everything happening around us. "Please, you can't leave us, Aria. We need you. I need you," I plead, my voice thick with desperation, as we make our way toward the hospital. The chaos and tension of the castle fade behind us as we reach the hospital, but the atmosphere here offers no relief. Thorn, Aria, and Alexander are immediately whisked away by the doctors, vanishing through the double metal doors while I'm left standing in the hallway. I clutch Aloan tightly in my arms, her fragile warmth pressing against me as though it could somehow stop the world from falling apart. Time feels frozen. Hours pass with excruciating slowness, each second marked by the relentless ticking of a clock on the wall before me. My mind churns in a storm of fear, guilt, and suppressed rage, but I force myself to remain calm, for Aloan's sake. My daughter has already endured far more than she should at her young age. "Mama's going to be okay," You'll see, I whisper to her, trying to sound confident, though there's a tremor in my voice I can't quite hide. I run a hand gently along her back, trying to soothe her as she burrows deeper into my arms, her tiny hands clutching me tightly. Mama's going to change, isn't she? She'll be like you, like Alex, Eloan murmurs softly. Her words don't make sense to me at first. I lift her small face to meet mine, and her eyes are red from crying. No, Eloan, I say, my voice as steady as I can manage despite the lump forming in my throat. Your mother will always be herself. She'll never be like me or Alexander. She has something neither of us does, a heart so big it fills the room. That's what makes her who she is, and that will never change. Eloan doesn't reply. She just buries herself deeper into my arms, hiding her face in my shoulder as though trying to disappear from the world entirely. I hold her tighter, feeling the weight of her vulnerability, and a wave of despair washes over me. I can't fail them. I can't fail her. Finally, the sound of hurried footsteps snaps me back to the present. The doctor appears before me, his expression grim. A jolt of electricity runs through my body, a mix of hope and terror. My heart pounds in my chest as I brace myself for what he has to say. The boy will be fine, he begins, and for a moment, I feel a rush of relief. He lost a lot of blood, but with rest and care, he'll recover. Before I can fully process that reassurance, he continues, and each word that follows lands like a blow. Now, about the young woman and the boy, he hesitates, and the weight in his tone freezes me in place. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. The situation is dire. Both of them are dying, and there is nothing we can do. The spells used, we don't have the medicine or magic to save them. For a brief moment, everything around me vanishes. My blood boils, and every instinct within me screams for violence. If I weren't holding Eloan, if I couldn't feel her fragility in my arms, I would have already thrown the doctor against the wall, demanding that he find a solution. But all I could do is take a deep breath, caging my rage like a wild beast. My mother, Isolde, appears at my side. Despite her injuries and the dirt from the battle staining her, her presence brings an odd sense of relief, like an anchor in the middle of a storm. She places a hand on my back, a brief gesture, but full of strength. Tell me which spells were used on them, she demands, her voice filled with authority and determination. I am an enchantress. I can try to reverse the effects. The doctor explains the 2 spells cast on Aria and Alexander. The boy was struck with a dagger dipped in dead blood. This type of poison corrodes the victim from the inside out until there is nothing left but death. And the woman? I ask, my voice nearly a growl. She's losing her human life force, the doctor explains, his expression heavy with helplessness. We don't know exactly how it happened or what spell was used, but she's fading, as if her life is being drained from her. The doctor steps back, leaving me feeling as though the ground has disappeared beneath my feet. I have no idea what to do. My mother steps in front of me, her face still bruised and dirty, but she doesn't seem to care. My son, she begins, her voice low but laden with meaning. There is something you can do for them. I look at her, frowning, unable to grasp her meaning. The young woman, she's human, she continues, her hesitation barely perceptible. You could turn her. Her words echo in my mind, leaving everything around me silent for a moment. Turn Aria? My mind immediately rejects the idea, and my body reacts as if an alarm has gone off. Turn Aria into a lycan? I repeat, my voice thick with disbelief. My eyebrows shoot up, and my gaze locks onto my mother, searching for an explanation. Mother, humans haven't been turned in thousands of years. It's forbidden. Our bite, it could kill her. Her body might reject it, and she'd die. My voice rises involuntarily, echoing down the quiet hospital corridor. Eloan stirs in my arms, but doesn't wake. My mother, however, doesn't flinch. Her expression remains firm, as though she has already weighed every consequence. Yes, I know, she responds, her voice eerily calm. But she's already dying, Caelum. There's no way the bite could make her condition worse. Turning her is the only chance you have to save her. I shake my head, refusing to accept it. The implications swirl in my mind like a hurricane. Aria might not survive, but at the same time, she's dying now. Which is worse? And Alexander? I ask, trying to redirect my focus to something that feels more manageable. He's already a lycan. I can't turn him into one again. My mother nods slowly, as if she anticipated this question. No, you can't turn him into a lycan, but you could make him an enchantress. Like you. But there is a price, my son, she warns with regret. Forbidden magic? I ask, already suspecting the answer. Soul transfer, she finally says, her voice quieter, almost a whisper. You could divide your enchantress essence. Transfer a part of it to Alexander. The weight of her words crashes down on me like an avalanche. My breathing falters, and my gaze hardens. Has anyone ever done this before? I ask, my voice almost a growl. Yes, she admits, her voice calm, yet heavy with meaning. I did it once. For your father. Many years ago. For a moment, the corridor seems to shrink around me. It's not easy, she continues, her voice steady but firm. It's a noble sacrifice, but dangerous. You must be willing to take the risk, Caelum. My mind spins with all the possibilities and risks. The fear of losing Aria is overwhelming. I need time to think. I finally respond, my voice cracked with exhaustion. The weight of the situation feels as though it's bending my back. I don't know what to do. I look at my daughter, still asleep in my arms, her delicate face peaceful despite the chaos surrounding us. Mother, I never asked for this. I never asked for the crown, for the kingdom, not even for this. I gesture subtly to Aloan, careful not to wake her, but my voice breaks as I say the words. I don't know if I could be a father, not without Aria. These children don't even know me, and I don't know them. I don't know how to make this work. My voice rises, filled with frustration and despair. Drave tied his life to the twins, to Thorn. I don't even know how to undo that. Everything is falling apart, and I don't know how to stop it. Aria, Alexander, the twins, their fate is in my hands. And I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Chapter 115, Aria. My vision blurs more and more, and the buzzing in my ears grows louder, until every sound around me is swallowed by an oppressive void. The pain in my body is unbearable, every muscle throbbing as if it's being torn apart from the inside. I try to move, but exhaustion pins me down, crushing me under an invisible weight. I can hear Seraphina's voice in the distance, distorted, dragging, as though being carried by a current. I have to stop her. She's going after my children. I try to fight this suffocating paralysis, but my vision fades, and the world around me is consumed by darkness. Everything goes still. There's no pain, no sound, only a deep void I don't know how to escape. Then something shifts. I'm no longer there. My mind, my essence, carries me somewhere else. I'm in a forest. The trees are grotesque, their branches twisted like claws, stretching toward me. The ground is damp and covered in dead leaves, and there's a strong scent of wet earth and something else, something rotten. The wind blows, carrying indistinct murmurs, voices that seem to whisper my name. Each sound echoes between the tall, gnarled trunks encircling me. My heart races. I try to understand where I am, but fear grips me, squeezing my chest like an invisible fist. Then his voice cuts through the shadows. What the hell did you do? Caelum's voice comes from the thicket, sharp and angry, startling me. My instinct is to run, and that's exactly what I do. I sprint, searching for my children, screaming their names. But there's no answer. I saw you too, Aria. Alexander's voice, laced with hurt, comes from behind me. I didn't do what he thinks. I would never do that to him. I love him. My breath is ragged, each inhale harder than the last. I try to push away the accusations, but Caelum's words come again, like a whisper carried on the wind. You love me, Aria. You know you love me. I shake my head violently, as if that could be enough to drive away the sound of his voice. I don't know what's happening. None of this makes sense, but the need to find my children keeps me going. Running through the forest brings me to a clearing where a massive bonfire crackles, its flames dancing into the air. On the other side stands a hooded figure. Even though I can't see their face, I feel their gaze fixed on me. Where am I? Where are my children? I ask, panic thick in my voice. The figure slowly raises their hands and pulls back the hood. My heart stops for a moment. It's my father, who has been dead for years. Am I dead? I ask, trembling with fear. If I'm seeing you, it means I'm dead, doesn't it? He doesn't respond immediately. Instead, a soft, gentle smile forms on his lips, so familiar it brings an unexpected wave of comfort. He steps closer, his arms opening, and before I even realize it, I'm wrapped in his embrace. It's warm, safe, just like I felt when I was a child. Dad, I can't die now, I say, my voice breaking as tears stream down my face. My children need me. Just like I needed you, I can't leave now. I can't. He cups my face in his hands, his eyes glowing with a profound sadness. They'll be fine, Aria. You've raised them well, Dad says in a calm voice, so close it feels like a whisper in my ear. No, I protest, stepping back. They won't be fine without me. They're so small, so vulnerable. They're just children. Caelum will use them. He'll shape them into war leaders, leaders constantly threatened, or worse, threatening. My voice cracks, and my father takes my hand, guiding me to a wooden bench near the bonfire. We sit together, and he holds my hand tightly, as if anchoring me to the moment. Then we can stay here, he says softly, his voice a balm for my soul. Until you're ready to move on. A wave of warmth and peace settles in my heart. The crackling fire blends with the sounds of the forest, creating a serene melody around us. The golden and orange glow of the flames dances, illuminating my father's serene face, while twisting shadows play around us, like specters quietly observing our conversation. Mom misses you so much, I say quietly, my voice thick with the emotion I'm trying to hold back. My chest tightens as I speak the words. It's something I've always wanted to say, but never thought I'd have the chance. Lyra? Missing me? He asks with a lightness that's almost disarming, a hint of humor in his tone that makes me smile despite the lump in my throat. In her own way, she does. We both do, I reply. The conversation flows between us with a surprising ease, as if there's no distance, no time, no death separating our souls. I can't tell how long we sit there. It could be minutes, hours, perhaps days. Here, under the warm glow of the bonfire, the world feels suspended. Sleep doesn't come, hunger doesn't touch me, and fatigue is a distant concept. The weight of life vanishes, leaving only the present moment, untouched, as if the universe has decided to pause its relentless march. I feel at peace, a peace I'd almost forgotten how to feel. But the illusion of eternity begins to unravel when the rustling of the trees changes, carrying a new sound, a harbinger of something approaching. On the horizon, a faint light starts to rise, like the first traces of dawn painting the sky. The growing brightness cuts through the shadows, enveloping the clearing in a subtle glow. My father rises slowly, with the same calm he always carried. His presence remains solid, but there's something in his eyes that warns me of what's to come. I think you'll need to choose, my little moon, Dad announces suddenly. He steps away from me, moving to the opposite side, where the sound of the forest rises. I stand as well, frozen, not understanding what's happening. On the other side of the fire, between the trees, the rustling intensifies. Suddenly, Caelum appears. His appearance startles me. He looks worn, almost unrecognizable. His clothes are torn, hanging in tatters on his body. His face is dirty, with smudges of soot and dried blood. It's as if he's been through a storm to get here. I finally found you, he declares, his voice heavy with relief and desperation. There's something almost wild in his eyes, a mix of urgency and determination. Come, we need to go, he adds, but doesn't take a step toward me. He only extends his hand, as if that gesture is enough to bridge the distance between us. My gaze flickers between him and my father, who remains still, serene, with his hand also outstretched. You have to choose, my little moon, between us both. Dad speaks with a calmness that unnerves me. My heart splits. I don't know where to go, I don't know what to choose. For a moment, I'm paralyzed, trapped between the two figures that represent completely different worlds to me. But then, a sound strikes me like a bolt of lightning. It's Thorn's voice, followed by Eloan's. They're calling my name, their voices echoing through the air. It's faint, distant, but enough to break the indecision that holds me captive. I'll be here, waiting for you, my little moon, Dad says tenderly before disappearing into the darkness of the forest. I run toward Caelum, and he moves toward me. Our presences seem to collide in the center of the clearing, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the intensity of the moment. I don't know if this will work, but please come back to me. I need you, Aria. I love you, Caelum declares, his voice cracked with desperation. I stand there, not understanding what he's saying. His hands reach for my face, and for a moment, I think he's going to kiss me. But instead, Caelum presses his lips to my neck, on the side where my birthmark lies. He bites me. The pain is overwhelming. My body burns completely, as if liquid fire is running through my veins, pulsing with an unbearable intensity. I feel my veins bubble, a monstrous heat spreading through every cell, every fiber of my being. It's as if my skin is a prison, unable to contain what's growing inside me. My bones begin to break, each crack sending a pain that reverberates through my entire body, making my heart race, almost to the point of exploding. I want to scream, I want to run, I want to disappear from this agony, but none of that happens. I'm trapped within myself, a spectacle of destruction that I can't stop. My mind shatters, fragments scatter like shards of glass. Everything distorts. The colors around me vibrate in unreal tones, sounds become too loud, deafening, and I no longer know what's real. My spine seems to snap in two, a brutal crack echoing down my back, and then I feel something tear through the skin on my back. It's as if something is being born, something strange and monstrous. A piercing howl escapes from my throat, something animalistic, something I don't recognize as mine. My mind is flooded with a vivid vision. A wolf with a mixed coat, black with silver streaks, its eyes glowing like embers. It stares at me, a majestic and terrifying figure, and then suddenly everything falls silent. The world halts. When I open my eyes again, everything is noise, everything is light. The silence has been replaced by a deafening cacophony. The colors of the environment around me are so vivid they seem to scream. I can't focus my eyes on anything. Everything is in motion, everything pulses. My breath is erratic, labored, and a rising panic takes over me. Aria? Aria! A voice calls out to me very close, but too loud, as if amplified directly inside my head. The sound sends a wave of pain through my body. My legs give way, and I fall to the ground, clutching my body in an attempt to shield myself from the intensity around me. Aria, calm down. It's me, Caelum. I recognize the voice, but it's too loud, like thunder exploding in my skull. At the same time, a strong scent invades my nostrils. It's overwhelming, impossible to ignore. A mix of antiseptic, sweat, blood, and something indescribable, something metallic and dense. What is that smell? I growl, surprised by the deep, raspy sound of my own voice. My throat hurts, as if I'm not used to using it this way. I'm curled up in a corner of the room, my hands trying uselessly to drown out the sounds, the smells, the lights. Every movement, every breath, everything is too vivid, and I can't process it. I hear footsteps approaching, and the implied threat makes me shrink even further. My hands now cover my ears, trying to block out the sound, but it's no use. Aria, focus on the heartbeat, Caelum urges. His voice is like thunder, echoing directly in my head. Ignore everything else. Just focus on that. Find the beat. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to do what he asks, but it's almost impossible. The sound of his breath, the beep of some equipment, other voices in the background, all of it bombards me. I breathe deeply, or try to, and attempt to isolate a single sound in the middle of the chaos. And then I find it. It's low, but it's there. A rhythmic beat, quickened but steady. It's not mine. The rhythm doesn't match my erratic breathing. It's the sound of Caelum's heartbeat. My mind begins to calm, or at least slow down, as I focus on that one sound. By the gods, did I make a mistake? I hear a whisper coming from him, but it seems to be right next to my ear, even though his mouth doesn't move. Aria? Can you hear me? Are you okay? Caelum says, his voice closer now, still loud, but not as unbearable. I feel his hand touch me, and I shrink away again. Finally, I lift my face to look at him. She survived the bite. This is incredible, Caelum murmurs, but once again his lips don't move. Did you bite me? I ask, startled. My gaze drops to my arm, where a throbbing pain grabs my attention. I see a deep bite mark, the outline clearly defined, still fresh and reddened. Caelum looks at me, his expression a mix of surprise and guilt. I didn't know what else to do. It was the only way to save you, and I didn't think it would work, Caelum responds, anxious. I can't lose her, Thorn still hasn't woken up, and I need her, I hear Caelum say, but his mouth doesn't move. Where is my son? What did you do to Thorn? I ask, irritated, quickly standing up. What? Aria, calm down. Caelum places his hand on my shoulder, and his touch burns, irritates me. I push his hand away from me, but my strength is overwhelming, and I nearly send Caelum flying to the other side of the room. Did you turn me into a lycan? I ask, furious. If you like it, subscribe, share, comment, and like. If you want to read the book, link in the description.